Good morning, everybody. I think probably everyone has joined us that's going to. So it's time for me now to turn myself off and hand over to Sarah, the storyteller, who's going to be taking us around the world in stories. Over to you, Sarah.
Oh, wonderful. Well, hello, everyone. Hello and welcome. Welcome to a wonderful journey right around the world in our Zoom room. And I don't know about you, but I thought the best way to start would be to stretch our story muscles. I certainly need a little wriggle. So just follow me and I'll tell you what to do. So first we stretch up tall and high as a house. Now curl up round and small as a mouse. And now pretend you are a drum and beat that tune. Tum, 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 tum. Shake your hands. Stamp those feet. Don't close your eyes and go to sleep. No, because it is story time. Story time and journey time. And when I go on a journey, the first thing I think of is, what clothes am I going to take? Because on a journey, you need some sensible, practical clothes. And so the first story I'm going to tell you is about a young child, a young boy, about your age. His name was Tom, and Tom needed a coat. So let me ring the story bell and then we'll go and find Tom. There was once a young boy called Tom, and Tom needed a coat. Now, it's all right, you see, not having a coat in the summer, isn't it? When the sun's shining, oh, you can get by in a t-shirt. It's even all right in the spring, and perhaps in the autumn, as long as the wind doesn't blow too hard. But it was winter time, and in winter, you need a coat. And one day, his mother, she said to him, "Oh, Tom, Tom, my son, you can't be going around in your shirt sleeves in late October. You need a coat, and I shall make you one." And Tom's mother, she went to the market, and there she bought a fine length of thick blue woolen cloth. And she set it down on her work table, and then she set to work. She worked all through the day and into the night, measuring and cutting and stitching and sewing, until she had made Tom a fine blue woolen coat. Oh, it really was very splendid. And Tom, he was excited. He put on that coat and he did up the buttons. Oh, and he felt proud. It was a lovely coat and he loved it. He wore it everywhere. He wore it in the sunshine and he wore it in the rain. He wore it in the wind and he wore it in the snow. He ran in it. He jumped in it. He splashed in it. And he even rolled in it. Until one day, Tom came home. And his mother, she looked him up and down. And she said to him, "Tom, Tom, my boy, that coat of yours, it's tattered and torn beyond repair. There's nothing left of it." And Tom felt very unhappy, and he looked down at his coat and he could see his mother was right, that there were lots of holes in it, but he didn't want to lose it. He loved his coat. Oh, no, surely there was something left. And then he had an idea. And he said to his mother, oh, mother, there is something left. Oh, yes, you're clever with your hands, and I think there's enough. Yes, there's just enough to make me a waistcoat. So Tom slipped off the coat and he gave it to his mother. And his mother, she set that coat down on her table and she got to work. She worked all through the day. She measured. Do you want to help her? And she cut, and she stitched, and she sewed. Until she had made Tom a fine blue woolen waistcoat. Oh, it was very fine indeed. And Tom slipped in his arms. Oh, it was quite snug. And he loved that waistcoat. He wore it everywhere. He wore it in the sunshine. He wore it in the, can you remember? Rain. He wore it in the wind. And he wore it in the snow. He ran in it. He jumped in it. He splashed in it. And he, that's right, rolled in it. Until one day, Tom came home. And his mother, she looked him up and down. Tom, my boy, that old waistcoat of yours, it's tattered and torn beyond repair. There's nothing left of it. You can't be going around in that. And Tom looked down and, oh dear, it was a bit scruffy, but oh, he didn't want to lose it. He loved it, and oh, there surely was enough. Yes, he'd had an idea. Oh, mother, you're clever with your hands. Oh, please, I know there's enough. There's just enough to make me, oh, you could make me a little woolen hat. Yes. So his mother, she took the waistcoat and she set it down on her workbench. And she got to work. Let's help her. She measured and she cut and she stitched and she sewed until she had made Tom a fine blue woolen hat. And Tom, he put it on his head. Oh, he felt quite French and very proud. And off he went. He wore that hat everywhere. He wore it in the sunshine, and he wore it in the rain. He wore it in the wind. Do you remember? And he wore it in the snow. He ran in it. He jumped in it. He splashed in it, and he rolled in it. Until one day, Tom came home. And his mother, she looked him up and down. And she said, Tom, that old hat, there's barely anything left of it. It's threadbare and full of holes. You can't be going round in that. Oh, tattered and torn beyond repair. And Tom took off his hat and he looked at it and he thought, oh, it is a bit scruffy. It looks as if the moths have had it, and but I do love it. I don't want to lose it. And I know, I've an idea. Oh, mother, look, you're clever. There is just enough of this hat to make me a nice blue woolen button. So his mother took the hat and she set it down on her workbench and she got to work all that long afternoon, measuring and cutting and stitching stitching and sewing until she'd made Tom, oh, the most splendid blue woolen button you have ever seen. And she sewed it onto his jumper. Oh, Tom loved that button. He wore it like a splendid badge. He wore it everywhere. He wore it in the sunshine, and he wore it in the rain. He wore it in the wind, and he wore it in the snow. Let's go with him, it's our last time. He ran in it. He jumped in it. He splashed in it. And he rolled in it. Then one day Tom came home. And his mother, she looked him up and down. And she said, Tom, where is your button? I can't see your button. And Tom looked down at his jumper and where was his button? It had fallen off. Oh no, he'd lost his button. Poor Tom. He searched everywhere, but he couldn't find it. That night, he went to bed feeling, oh, so sad. Where was his button? Oh, how unhappy he was. But the next morning, when Tom woke up, there was a parcel at the end of his bed. Now, you can't feel sad when there's a parcel at your end of your bed. No. For a moment, Tom forgot all about his button and he just felt excited. And he scrambled out of bed and he took that parcel and he began to unwrap it. What was inside? It was a book. Took out the book and he opened it. And on the first page was written, "This is the story of Tom's beautiful blue woolen coat." And he read, and it was just the story I have told you, the story of his fine blue woolen coat. Tom was overjoyed, and he ran downstairs and he gave his mother a great big hug. And he said to her, "Oh, mother, thank you, because he knew his mother had written that story. Thank you. I thought I'd lost my coat, but now it's a story. If I tell that story to my friends and they tell it to their friends and their friends, my coat will live forever." And that's just what he did. And you see, that story is still alive today because stories travel as well as we do. And I love that story because I'm always losing things. And when I do, I feel unhappy. And then I remind myself with that story that I can find those things in a new story. So remember that if you ever lose anything. But now, let's send that story on its way and decide where we'll go next. I know. I've got an idea. There's a little creature sitting down by my knee. Does anyone recognise this little creature? It's a hedgehog. Anyone seen a hedgehog? Well, if you haven't, now's your chance to say hello. This is Smallest Hedgehog. And I'm going to tell her story, because her story's a story about a journey. And what better way to start our journey than with a story of a journey? And Smallest Hedgehog is a very adventurous, brave, bold little hedgehog. So hers is an extra special story that will give us courage. But first, I should ask you a question. Does anyone know what hedgehogs do at this time of the year? Does anyone know what they do when the air grows chilly? I'll give you a clue. I'll give you a clue. Yes, they go to sleep. It's a time for their long winter sleep. Well, most of them go to sleep, but as you'll discover, not Smallest Hedgehog. So are you ready? It was a blustery November afternoon, and Mr. Hedgehog and Mrs. Hedgehog and their 5 prickly children were all gathered together in the woods. Yes, they were under their great oak tree, and they were scurrying around in the leaves. They were building themselves nests, because it was time for their long winter sleep. They were very busy, all except Smallest Hedgehog. You see, it was Smallest Hedgehog's very first winter, and she was very curious. Oh, Mother, she asked. Mother, what is winter like? Oh, Smallest Hedgehog, said her mother. Winter can be beautiful, but it's no time for hedgehogs. No, winter is also dangerous, cruel, and very, very cold. Now, Smallest Hedgehog, you just snuggle down in your bed and go to sleep. But Smallest Hedgehog couldn't snuggle down. No, she was far too excited. She wanted to know what winter was like. So, at night, when the moon was up, and all her brothers and sisters and her mother and father were fast asleep and tucked up in their leaves, Smallest Hedgehog scurried off into the night. Yes, away she scampered through the trees in that wood, twisting and turning. On and on she went, until she heard a sound up above. Click-cloo, click-cloo, click-cloo. Can you guess who that was? It was Wise Owl. Wise Owl. And Wise Owl had seen Smallest Hedgehog, and he was very worried. Click-cloo, click-cloo, Smallest Hedgehog, what are you doing? Oh, Owl, I'm going in search of winter. Do you know where I'll find her? Oh, Smallest Hedgehog, winter is no time for hedgehogs. Hurry home, twit-twoo, twit-twoo. And off flew Owl. Whoop. Off flew Owl. But do you think Smallest Hedgehog hurried home? No, of course she didn't. No, she wanted to find winter, and going home was no way to do it. On she scampered through those woods until she came to the great open fields. And it was morning, and she met a new friend. This time it was Hare. That's right, and Hare was hurrying across the fields. And when Hare saw Smallest Hedgehog, oh, he was even more concerned than Owl had been. Smallest Hedgehog, what are you doing? What are you doing out here? Oh, Hare, I'm glad I saw you because I'm looking for Winter. Can you help me find her? Oh, smallest hedgehog, winter is no time for hedgehogs. Hurry home as I'm doing. Hurry home. And off went the hare, leaving smallest hedgehog. But did she hurry home? No, of course she didn't. That's no way to have an adventure. On she journeyed, and very happy she was too. You see, the days hadn't grown cold yet, and there were still lots of beetles, oh, juicy beetles, and earwigs, and little slugs for her to eat. Oh, she was very happy. How silly, she said. How silly of my brothers and sisters to go to sleep when they could be having such fun like me. One day, when smallest hedgehog woke up underneath her hedge, she shivered. There was a frosty breeze blowing through the treetops, and the air was chill. Smallest hedgehog, she peeped out from under the hedge, and she saw snowflakes falling through the sky. And then she saw that the earth was painted white. She was excited. Oh, just look! Winter has come! Winter is here at last! And oh, it's beautiful! And she stepped with one little paw onto the snow and then another, and then she started to dance. Oh, and she laughed at the pretty patterns her footprints made. Oh, Winter was wonderful. And away she scampered until, she came to the river. The great river flowing through near the hedge. And she was so curious, and she was a bit thirsty now, so she dipped in her nose, and it was cold. She never touched anything so cold, and a little paw, it was hard. The river was frozen. Smallest hedgehog couldn't resist. She was so curious. She went on with one toe, then another foot, then another paw, then another paw, and whoosh! She was skating on the ice. Oh, this was splendid. Winter was wonderful. Winter was magical. Smallest hedgehog was having such a wonderful time skating on that ice. She didn't see the danger. Sly Fox. Sly Fox was lurking in the bushes by the bank. And winter is a hungry time for foxes, and foxes love to eat juicy, sweet, plump young hedgehogs. With a thud, the fox was on the ice. And now Hedgehog could see Fox. Hedgehog could see Fox's slitty yellow eyes. Hedgehog could see Fox's long, slathery pink tongue. Smallest Hedgehog could feel Fox's warm breath on her back. What was she going to do? Well, lucky for Smallest Hedgehog, she had been brought up by sensible parents who told her exactly what to do if ever she was in a dangerous spot. Now, something you might know already, but hedgehogs don't have furry backs. They're not like kittens and cats and dogs. No. Hedgehogs have little spikes, little spines on their backs. So can you guess what her parents had taught her to do? That's right. They taught her to curl up into a tight ball. And that's just what smallest hedgehog did. So when Fox reached out with his paw to catch her, he went, ouch! And he jumped back. And as he jumped back on that ice, what happened? He went skidding across the river, right to the middle of the river. And everyone knows that the ice in the middle of the river is thinner than the ice at the edge. And foxes are much heavier than hedgehogs. So our sly fox went plop. And that was the end of him. Phew, said smallest hedgehog, uncurling herself. That was close. Winter is beautiful. Oh, winter is wonderful. Oh, but my mother was right. It's also dangerous, cruel, and now I'm very, very cold and I want to go home. But that wasn't so easy. You see, smallest hedgehog had travelled a long, long, long way, and she hadn't brought a map. It was springtime when our little hedgehog finally arrived back at the great family tree. And they were her brothers and sisters playing amongst the bluebells. You can imagine they were very happy and excited when they saw their little sister. Oh, smallest hedgehog, where have you been? Oh, said smallest hedgehog very proudly. Oh, I went in search of Winter. What was it like? Oh, Winter is wonderful. Winter is beautiful. Oh, it's so. Yes, said Mother Hedgehog. It's beautiful, but it's also dangerous, cruel, and very, very cold. But smallest hedgehog wasn't listening. No, she was curled up in the grass and fast asleep. Should we leave her there, curled up in the grass? That's very much a story for this time of year, isn't it? And I first met that story in a book called The Winter Hedgehog by Ann and Reg Cartwright. And it's a book you might like to read sometime. But now, before we leave those woods and our Zoom room, I think we should sing a song. We should sing a song for that great tree, their family tree, and all the trees in the wood. Because now is a special time for trees. They're turning golden and red and oh, don't they make you feel happy? You can kick around in their leaves and have fun and build dens. So let's sing a song for them. And I'll teach you, don't you worry, just follow me. And this is how it begins. Big green tree growing up so fine, planted some in this yard of mine. They started off looking kind of small. Do you want to be a little tree? We're going to grow in a minute. Then time went by and they got real tall. So all of you, parents too, up with your branches. By golly, I admire a tree. Big, tall and sappy, really makes me happy. Now from my window I can see 45 examples of a big green tree. Down with your branches. When I'm feeling sad and mean, I go looking for something green. Finding green isn't very hard, 'cause I've got green in my backyard. Stretch up your branches one last time. By golly, I admire a tree. A big, tall and sappy really makes me happy. Now from my window I can see 45 examples of a big green tree. And I'm going to sing one last time. Now from my window I can see 45 examples of a green tree. Because nothing could be finer than a big green tree. But now I think it's time to leave the forest. So let me ring the story bell one more time, because it's the moment for us to set off again on our journey. So we need to start thinking of where we'll go next. Oh, I know. I've got a globe here which might help us. Let me just have a look. Should we go somewhere warm? That would be nice. Oh, yes, let's go. We could go to Australia, right at the other side of the world, or India or Australia. I think that's where we'll go. But the choice is yours, my friend. The choice is yours. I don't know what you've chosen. I'm waiting to hear. This is going to be exciting.
I can tell you, Sarah, that the choice with 11 votes to 5 is Australia.
Australia, fantastic. Fantastic. We're going right to the other end of the world. Well, I can't wait. So, well, all there is to say now, I think, is let's all get packing and bye-bye for today. And thank you ever so much for coming. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sarah, for such a wonderful selection of poems and song for today. And I'm really excited about going to Australia tomorrow, right on the other side of the world. But for now, it's goodbye, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.